For more on President Trump's latest tariffs threat, earlier I spoke with Dan Ikenson. Now, he's the director of the Herbert A. Stiefel Center for Trade Policy Studies at the Cato Institute.
I'm wondering when the administration is going to pull back and actually recognize that they are economically and politically constrained here by suggesting that duties will be imposed on $500 billion worth of goods is going to sink the U.S. and global economy. The problem is that the president, so far, his base has not expressed too much regret. They think he's doing a good job. Even those at Harley-Davidson, for example, which is shifting production over to Europe, where people are going to lose jobs, they say, well, we believe that Trump knows what he's doing. Right now, he hasn't really felt the call from the constituents, but he will soon.
Do you think it's an empty threat saying he's just going to tax everything?
I'm not sure. I would like to think it is, and that this is just a big game of chicken. But part of me is beginning to think that this administration thinks very differently, in the sense that they're willing to see the system crash. There's a concern that China's gaining on the United States, that other countries are gaining on the United States, and that the best way to assure that the U.S. is at the top of the hill is to set everything back. The U.S. will lose absolutely from a trade war, but in relative terms, we might end up in a better position. That's a very cynical way of looking at the world, but the Trump administration, I think, does this.
Trump has been very critical of the Federal Reserve for the proposed interest rates. He's also at odds with the Treasury Department. Even when they have this report out that did not name any country as a currency manipulator, he continues to levy currency manipulation charges against China and the EU. What is the basis, in your opinion, for his allegation?
There is really no basis whatsoever. Experts will tell you that there's been no currency intervention. This has been a story we've been hearing for about 20 years, and there were times when there was intervention in currency markets, but the bottom line is it has very limited impact on the trade account. The president's signaling to the Fed to maybe slow down its rate hikes, that's not that unusual. It's a little bit more direct than previous presidents. All presidents want to see their economic expansion continue and don't want the Fed to intervene, but there's no currency manipulation issue here.
So his influence over the Fed is right in line with some previous administrations?
I think so, and I hope that remains the case.
Yuan has fallen in recent weeks, months. Is this drop trade-related in your estimation?
Partially trade-related. I mean, relative to the dollar, I mean, the U.S. economy is one of the most robust in the world right now, and so the dollar is a lot stronger, and it's attracting investment. The Chinese economy is relatively weak. It's weakening somewhat, and certainly if there's concern about a trade war coming, investment that would be parked in China is now looking for the exits. So that does put downward pressure on the RMB.
So Larry Kudlow wants to remind everyone that President Trump inherited this and that something needed to be done. What is your opinion about this?
I think the relationship wasn't perfect, for sure. Mutually beneficial, yes. Was China violating some of its WTO obligations? Was it violating some of the trade rules? Yes, I think there's a case to be made there. But we're going about this the wrong way. The way to get China to maybe reduce its insistence on technology transfer or IP theft in pursuit of these Made in China 2025 goals would be to stand with Japan and Europe and Korea and our allies and say, China, we can't have this, Beijing. Change your policies.
So quickly, auto hearing yesterday. What do you see the next moves, trade-related? 30 seconds or less.
Well, look, there's nobody in America that wants these auto tariffs. All the producers, the suppliers, the consumers, everyone who testified is opposed to it. Let's see whether or not the administration is listening, or whether they're trying to make some sort of a show here and tell everybody that they think they know better than what industry and what consumers know. This will be devastating to the economy if we go forward with these auto tariffs.